My name's Jerusalem, I'm a real bad dude, making sounds and noises that are certainly rude. But when we're on the field, my noises are an art like a and or a plain old
Welcome to the Married with Picks podcast, season 5, episode 3, week 3. So Steve, I know you had to go back and get the numbers on last week, so I know you must have done pretty good.
Yeah, I did okay. I did okay last week. 10-4, I think was the official number.
Mm-hmm. I do want to victory lap my Browns and Raiders picks, but other than that, it was a mediocre week. Although I think you said I was 6-5.
Yeah, 6-5. You're a game over 500, so take that. It's a winner.
All right. So remember, if you're watching, like and subscribe. And I have to apologize. I cut off the intro last week accidentally to the podcast. All right. So we're on to week 3 when we were 1-1 on our bets.
Yeah.
So I'm still up 1.
Yeah, I had the Vikings on the 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember which one you had?
Was it the Browns?
Dallas.
No, Browns Raiders. Or no, who did the Browns play?
I asked you if you knew. I don't really know.
Well, you were the one that went back and got the picks. Browns Jags. That's probably what it was because you like the Jags, right?
Probably.
Okay. All right. Moving on. Week 3. First game up is the Giants at the Browns. The line is -6.5 in favor of the Browns. So the Giants could not get the win last week against the Commanders. That's a division game, which they usually are competitive in. They were competitive. Maybe if they had a kicker, they would have won that one. By the way, I don't know if you've noticed, but I noticed this tonight, that Brian Daboll has lost a significant amount of weight. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
Okay. So I got to go back to the Browns here. I don't think it's going to go well for the Giants on the road, taking on the Cleveland defense at home.
Would you be able to eat after you lost Saquon Barkley to free agency to the Eagles? So that makes sense.
Okay. It could be stress. Because I think he's probably on the hot seat along with a couple other coaches, which we might talk about. So do you have a pick on the game, Steve?
I like Cleveland.
Okay.
As long as they stay under a touchdown. Right now it's at 6.5. I like the Browns at home. I think the Giants, I'm just pretty much going to go against them every week.
Okay. All right. Next game is the Bears at the Colts. This opened at Colts -1. It's at Colts -1.5. Honestly, I don't want anything to do with this game. I'm so disappointed in the Colts from last week. I feel like I was giving Shane Steichen way too much credit. And after what I saw last week, they lost to Malik Willis, whose stat line was 12 for 14 for 122 yards. They had, as a team, 261 rushing yards. So if the Colts couldn't stop Malik Willis and a one-sided Packers offense last week, I have zero faith that they're going to do much against the Bears defense. The Bears defense has played very well this year. They're not getting much from their offense. The Colts defense, I have to believe, is not very good either. If they couldn't stop the run game last week, I have no play on this game.
Do you have anything on Michael Pittman? I think it looks like he's going to play. But
on the injury report.
Yeah, he's listed as questionable, but it looks like Steichen said in his press conference that he expects him to play on Sunday. So that'll be a big help for Anthony Richardson. And he also has Jonathan Taylor. I think the thing you got to remember about last week, and remember as we get into the early stages of the 2024 season, don't make your predictions just based off the prior week. I mean, I know it sounds like that makes sense, and I'm not talking to you, JACLYN, but I'm talking to the fan base out there.
I'm so angry. I can't be what's the word? Objective.
Well, here's the problem.
Betting.
The problem is that I can understand layoff if you don't have a good feel. But I think this is a completely different situation from last week. You know, they're playing at home, which is a big difference in Indianapolis than playing in Green Bay. Green Bay is not an easy spot to win. And that was one of those games where, you know, kind of everybody was loading up on the Colts. So it was a bad spot for them early in the season. I think they bounced back this week against the Bears. I'm not really going to look to take the Bears this season until they prove that they can effectively win a game by scoring touchdowns as opposed to the special teams taking over. I think Anthony Richardson should be able to run around a lot, get some positive yardage as he then looks to break the ball down to Alec Pierce, who's had the first 2 big games. And if Michael Pittman gets healthy and stays on the field, I think that's a recipe for a win at Indianapolis. So I'll take the Colts.
Okay. One comment and one question.
They're -1.5, right?
Yes. Comment is that there was clips of DJ Moore being like extremely frustrated with Caleb Williams from the last game.
That's going to continue.
And then my question is, like, I feel like I was giving Shane Steichen a lot of credit because of what he did with the Eagles offense a couple of years back and what he did last year. But is what he did last year, a majority of the year, it was Gardner Minshew at the starting quarterback. Anthony Richardson only started 4 games. He didn't even finish 4 games. So is that, I mean, Richardson is obviously a different quarterback than Gardner Minshew. Right. Is that where part of the problem maybe is?
No, because where Steichen had his success in Philadelphia, he had a similar quarterback in Jalen Hurts who liked to run the ball. So half of the reason why they got Anthony Richardson or drafted him was because he fits that prototypical running quarterback that Steichen's offense, needs to thrive.
Okay. All right. Next game is the Texans at the Vikings. So I'm kind of mad at myself for my 49ers pick last week because I didn't look up how Kyle Shanahan fared against Brian Flores' defenses. And if I had, maybe I would not have felt so strongly about the Niners. So in this game, we're going to have Brian Flores' defense going up against CJ Stroud, second year in the league, obviously. He likes to confuse the quarterback with simulated pressures. And it seemed to work last week on Brock Purdy. I don't know how well CJ Stroud is going to fare. I think the one thing they have going for them is with Nico Collins and Tank Dell on the outside. That's kind of one way that you can beat Flores' defense is if you have speed on the outside, because essentially a safety or a corner is dropping out, is lining up on the line of scrimmage and then dropping back to cover those guys. And that's not a good recipe when you have speedy receivers on the outside. And I know that you probably think that Sam Darnold is a good quarterback. I think he's done well enough in these first 2 games, but he's due to come back to earth and it's coming soon. So my pick on this is going to be the Texans. I don't know if I said the line. It actually opened at -3.5. It's down to -2.5 in favor of the Texans.
Yeah, it looks like the Vikings are going to be without Jordan Addison, but Justin Jefferson seems to be, I know he came out of the game early last week and was questionable earlier in the week, but it looks like Justin Jefferson is going to play.
Yes. The Texans will be without Joe Mixon. It looks like, I don't know if he's officially out, but he's at least doubtful.
He's out.
And then Dameon Pierce is their backup running back. So it's going to be Cam Akers that gets the start here.
Dameon Pierce is injured, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been ruled out.
Yeah.
So Cam Akers coming over from the Rams in the offseason. He looked, I was watching a little bit of the game earlier last week, and Cam Akers didn't look bad. He was getting off on some runs when he did get the ball. So I don't think that that's going to hurt the Texans offense that much, but they are going on the road, and Minnesota's a hard place to play. The 49ers learned the hard way last week. And if this game's going to stay as the Texans are favored on the road in Minnesota, I'm going to take the Vikings.
All right.
So we're on opposite sides there.
Opposite sides. All right. Next game is the Eagles at the Saints. It opened at Eagles -3. And since the debacle that was Monday Night Football, it has shifted to the Saints -2.5. Now, I got excited when I saw this game, and because I had a rough week, and I actually looked ahead to the Week 3 schedule before the Monday Night Football even played. So I actually bet this when it was Eagles -3. I took the Saints. after the Saints week 1 performance against the Panthers, it was kind of like question mark. What does it mean? Because is it just because they played a really bad team in the Panthers? Week 2, they go into Dallas and they did it again. So I think the Saints are legitimate. Clint Kubiak has come in as the OC. This is really his first gig as an actual coordinator. He was a passing game coordinator last year for San Francisco. So he's doing a lot of good things down there on offense. Eagles obviously suffered that bad loss to the Vikings, not the Vikings.
Yes. The Atlanta Falcons.
I'm like reverting to like the old team for everybody.
Okay?
I swear, like I did it earlier with like Derek Carr. I said the Raiders. Like I was starting to scare myself. So it's also a short week for them. Having played on Monday night, they have to travel down to New Orleans. They are going to be without A.J. Brown again. Now, you've always said that they don't play well in New Orleans. I went back and looked at the history, and I don't necessarily see that other than the one, I think, playoff game they lost down there.
They lost like in 13, 12 maybe.
You were going way back then. Because they actually, 2 games that they...
Michael Vick was the starting quarterback. Okay. I was down there in New Orleans.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Got smoked.
Okay. Because the 2 games that they played against them in recent history, one was Trevor Siemian was the starting quarterback for the Saints, and another was Taysom Hill. So
it was in Philly. I think the Saints won, right?
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, but I just didn't see it. Like, you make it sound like they always suck when they play.
And those recent games were in Philly. But down in New Orleans, they usually don't have much success. I would tell you that I was looking at this before this week as an Eagles loss. But I think that the Eagles are going to cover here, and this is why. I don't necessarily like the Eagles here. I think it was very discouraging last week without A.J. Brown. It seems like they definitely need A.J. Brown to make that offense work, but they get more time to practice without him and be prepared. Hopefully the defense can dial up some pressure. But this is a spot where it doesn't look like an Eagles win. And pretty much I think everybody likes the Saints. And when everybody, especially when everybody around the Philadelphia area is against the Eagles or expecting a loss, that's always when they win. So
that sounds like wishful thinking from an Eagles fan.
I mean, I don't really like them that much either. I think the Saints are legit and they looked good last week, but I'm taking the Eagles because exactly why. When everyone thinks they're going to lose, that's when they win. So watch, they'll win.
I mean, the bottom line to me is I think the only way the Eagles win is if the Saints completely implode on themselves in this game.
That could happen.
And this is a team
Let's not anoint Derek Carr the freaking next Joe Montana.
No, but you know what? You scheme up your quarterback. You do what works for him. Isn't that how Nick Foles won a Super Bowl? Like, that's what Kubiak's doing for Derek Carr. He's not getting pressured.
We're 2 weeks in.
He's not playing. He's not throwing on third down. Like, it's ridiculous. Dallas isn't Micah Parsons.
Dallas isn't the 1995 version. They
have a better pass rush than you guys do.
Oh, good. Doesn't mean they're a better team. We have a much better offense.
I don't see how the Saints implode. Like, they're riding a high. Like, they've been a mediocre team at best for years. And they're actually, like, winning games now. Like, how can they come home after beating Dallas and lose to the Eagles? Like, I just don't see it.
Well, one of the major questions is going to be, can the Eagles contain Alvin Kamara? Because Kamara has looked like
Kamara. Then you got to keep somebody on Rashid Shaheed and Chris Olave.
Yeah. Well, Kamara has looked really good in the first 2 games of the year. So the Eagles have not looked great against the run, but they should scheme for getting pressure on Derek Carr and stopping the run. If they can get some run blitzes going, they'll have an opportunity here to handle the Saints. The Saints look great. I think they're playing much more over their head. And if they win this game, they're going to be 3-0, right? So it'll be interesting to see really what happens in this game. Don't forget that the Eagles have a ton of offense, a ton of talent on the offense. Last week, they should have won if Saquon Barkley would have caught the ball, and nobody would probably be that much down on him. But there is opportunity around to get people like Dallas Goedert more involved, get Jalen Hurts to throw the ball a little bit more in the middle of the field.
And who's this Covey kid? Like, I was thinking like Jahan Dotson was going to get some play.
Yeah, well, because if they put Dotson on the outside to replace A.J. Brown. So they wanted to work the slot with Covey. Covey's been the punt returner for the last couple of years, and he actually led the league in punt return yardage, or average punt return yardage last year. So he's got a little quickness. He reminds you a lot of like a Julian Edelman. I'm not trying to say he's that good, but he does seem tough, and he's quick off the line. So they got him the ball, but that's a great question. Why are they feeding him the ball when, you have the
and the other tight end
Smith and Dallas Goedert,
Well, he was throwing to another tight end too.
Yeah, Kakaveka, I think it is.
Yeah, something like that. Calcaterra or something.
Yeah, so it's. I think this is a problem, and this is where, I'm hesitant. I want to see over the next couple of games, and I came in thinking, they have to learn this offense, and the Eagles' offense is not going to look like gangbusters in the beginning because they're still trying to implement this new system. But the decisions that I saw, a lot of key decisions that were made in the Monday night game, seemed like we were not necessarily playing to the Eagles' strength, and that they were trying to fool the defense and get too cute. Sometimes you just got to line up and do what you do best, especially in clutch situations when the game's on the line.
And what do you do best?
So I'm worried that, you have a third down and the other team has no timeouts, and you got, around a 2-minute warning. Inside the 2-minute warning, you should hand the ball off and get the clock running so that you can, whether you make the first down or not, it doesn't matter. You want the clock moving so that you can, winning teams will burn clock at the end, right? Obviously, so that you give less time for your opponent to get in. So between that and the defense just sitting back and letting Kirk Cousins walk down the field without putting any pressure on him or sending any blitzes, it's going to take time sometimes for football teams to learn how to win. Mm-hmm. And that's the position I think the Eagles are in. And I think that when that occurs, they'll be laser sharp focused for this game. I look for the Eagles to squeak out a 3-point win.
All right. So, bottom line to me, like I said, is the only way that the Eagles win this game is if the Saints implode on themselves. And I think you're going to know that early if it's happening. So I'm going to just pivot to some in-game betting, but I don't see it. So I'm on the Saints there.
What do you want to bet?
Sure.
Seem pretty confident. All right. I get 3.
Well, I bet it at...
I don't care what you bet it at like 8 weeks ago. I get 3 points?
No, it's 2.5.
All right, 2.5. Plus 2.5. Tried for that hook. Do you like that?
It's not
negotiation. It's a negotiation.
All right. Moving on. Chargers at Steelers. Opened at -2.5 in favor of the Steelers. It's at -1.5 in favor of the Steelers, but that might actually have moved because apparently Justin Herbert has a high ankle sprain and is questionable for this game. So obviously, if Justin Herbert doesn't play, that would change things dramatically, I would say. Easton Stick is the backup quarterback. That's my bad side, by the way.
Oh, okay.
So both of these teams, surprisingly enough, are 2-0. One of them is going to leave with a loss. I don't know who it's going to be. Not a big Steelers better. So I don't really want anything to do with this game. It is also the second road game for the Chargers, but they did stay on the East Coast after their game in Carolina. Generally, I would say take the points in this situation, but I'm not going to be doing anything with this game. Do you have a play?
This is a tough one. I'm actually going to lay off this one. If I had to lean anywhere, I'd probably lean towards the Steelers, but I would say probably take a look at the under on this one.
Yeah. All right.
No touch.
Next game is the Broncos at the Bucs. Open at Bucs -5.5. It's up to Bucs -6.5. Broncos playing okay defense, but they generally have no offense going for them at this point. With Bo Nix, Todd Bowles on the other side.
Tell me where Bo Nix went to college.
I have no idea.
Okay, that's what I figured.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oregon.
Yeah. So I do think that Denver has one good cornerback, Patrick Surtain. He will be on Mike Evans, I'm sure. And Evans is one of those guys that just does absolutely nothing when he has a good cornerback on him. So it could be another Chris Godwin game. He is healthy this year. So he's been a target for Baker Mayfield as well. So, I got to go Bucs. I mean, just on the fact that the Broncos ain't doing much on offense.
I think Bo Nix is a miss,
Well,
He's going to be one of these guys that you're not even going to know his name in 3 years.
I don't know. Sean Payton was trying to make himself sound like a mad genius.
Yeah. He tried to do that with Taysom Hill, too. Look where that turned out. He's doing a hell of a job as a lead blocker in a fullback position in New Orleans.
I'm still convinced that Taysom Hill is his gay lover.
Well, they put Taysom Hill in the hospital, basically, because they got him blocking 300-pound tackles, rushing him up the middle as a fullback. The guy's used to playing quarterback, and I don't know what the hell they're doing.
Well, that's what happens.
But I digress. We're talking about the Broncos at the Bucs, and I'm going to take the Bucs because as long as it stays under a touchdown, I don't know how you can confidently go on the Broncos after we've seen their sluggish play. Bo Nix is going to take a while to get going, so until he shows that he can command an NFL offense, I think you should probably pretty much go against them unless they're playing some really direct team. The Bucs are good enough, not great, but good enough, especially with that wide receiver play, as JACLYN alluded to. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Jalen McMillan is also there. So if they can get Rashid White running a little bit, I think Baker Mayfield could have some success, and I look for a Bucs to pull this one out at home.
All right. Next game is the Packers at the Titans. The line is -2.5 in favor of the Titans. Now, this was supposed to be the Malik Willis revenge game. Tennessee drafted Malik Willis, so he would be back there to face them, although Jordan Love has returned to practice. He was a limited participant. He's questionable for the game. It sounds like Matt LaFleur is suggesting he'll be a game time decision, which kind of sucks for us as bettors because I would easily take Tennessee at -2.5 if Malik Willis was starting in this game. But if it's Jordan Love, that's going to change things. It should change the line as well. So there's certainly no value in betting the Titans as a favorite if it's going to be Jordan Love at quarterback. The initial report was 3 to 6 weeks, so I don't know why he was doubtful last week, questionable this week. I don't know if he's going to play. I would assume that you spent so much money on this guy, you would make sure he's fully healthy before he goes back out on the field. Titans do have a good defense, and hopefully Will Levis has learned his lesson that it's okay to take a sack. His coach is not happy with him for some of the boneheaded decisions he's made in the last couple games. If he can get that in check, I think he's got potential. DeAndre Hopkins has been banged up. He's not on the injury report now, so maybe he gets a little more play in this game. Up until this point, it's been Calvin Ridley as the guy that Levis is going to. If he has DeAndre Hopkins out there, that would certainly help their cause. But without knowing who the quarterback for the Packers is going to be, I don't know that you can do much with it right now.
Well, Tajay Spears for Tennessee looks like he's a little banged up and looks as questionable, but he's a full practice participant on Friday, so I expect him to play. So along with Tony Pollard, I think that Tennessee should be fully healthy. I think DeAndre Hopkins is a go.
Yeah, one other thing to mention, 4 out of the 5 members of the Packers offensive line are on the injury report. I don't know that means that anybody's not going to play, but just
and I don't think
something to point out.
You look at the Packers schedule, they have the Vikings on deck, right?
Right, and that's
which
division.
is a huge division game. So I don't know why you, again, like you had mentioned, I don't know why you would rush Love back for this game unless he's completely healthy and he can play, which clearly isn't the case, right? Mm-hmm. He's not going to be completely healthy if he plays, and he uses or depends a lot of his game depends on his mobility. So I don't expect him to play. I think this is kind of a payback from last week.
I think it's stupid. And I got to give credit to Matt LaFleur for actually coming up with a game plan where he can win a game with Malik Willis. And I also, in seeing like the Aaron Rodgers stuff with his interaction with the coach last night, I kind of feel like I had no opinion on Matt LaFleur as a coach when Aaron Rodgers was there. And then since Aaron Rodgers is gone, you actually get to see like Matt LaFleur as a coach, and he's not bad.
Okay, well, I'm going to take the Titans here because I think you can fool me once without Love. Now there's tape on it on the Packers without Love and how they're going to play. I think the Titans can scheme.
I don't know if you even need a tape for that, but
so I take the Titans.
Okay, so you would take the Titans -2.5 right now, regardless of who the quarterback's going to be.
No, I don't expect Love to play.
Okay.
If Love was the play, then I don't know how good I feel about it anyway, because I really don't feel like he's going to be 100% if he plays. He's going to be more like 80%, and hobbling around. But if he looks like the Jordan Love that played week 1, then Tennessee could be in trouble. So I would say, as long as Love's not playing, take the Titans. Right. Otherwise, I'd lay off.
All right. In agreement there, then. Next game is Panthers at Raiders. Open at -6 in favor of the Raiders. It's at 6.5. So Bryce Young has been benched in Carolina after 2 weeks, which I don't really understand that. Andy Dalton will get the start here. I have zero faith in Andy Dalton, but who knows? He could pull off a Joe Flacco. So this could be a letdown spot for the Raiders returning home after their big win over the Ravens last week. I think probably having Andy Dalton at quarterback is maybe a boost for the wide receivers there. But I don't trust Andy Dalton.
I don't either.
But I kind of would lean to take the points.
To take the points on the the Panthers?
The Panthers.
All
lean,
right.
I said.
You want to bet on that?
No, I said I lean.
All right, well, lean on back because I'm taking the Raiders. They're -5.5. That line's coming down from 7. I don't trust Andy Dalton as far as I can throw him. I would say look for the Raiders to win this game handily.
Okay. All right. Next game is Dolphins at Seahawks. Open at -6.5 in favor of the Seahawks. It's down to -4.5. So obviously no Tua. Skylar Thompson, is that his name?
Yeah.
Will get the start for the Dolphins. Kenneth Walker is doubtful for the Seahawks. And honestly, I don't know what to do with the Seahawks because we watched the week 1 game. I don't think they look great. They took the game last week against the Patriots to overtime. We saw the Patriots play last night. They didn't look great. So I don't know if the Seahawks are really that good. But I don't know what the Dolphins are going to do with this backup quarterback in there. They should be able to run the ball with A-Chain, but I don't want anything to do with this game.
That's a tough one. Yeah, I'm going to take the Hawks. I think they're playing at home again. It's tough against the 12th man in Seattle. I really like that home field advantage for Seattle. And with the Dolphins, with Skylar Thompson coming out, I don't expect much from him. I don't think maybe you get lucky and slip a Tyreek Hill deep and he can hit him with a pass. Other than that, you're looking at the run game that should, carry Miami, but they got problems themselves. Mozart's still doubtful, probably not going to play. Your backup's Jeff Wilson, and Devon A-Chain hasn't really done too much this year so far. I think they're going to be more effective when they get Rasheem Mozart back and they can have the 1-2 punch. But with Skylar Thompson, I think that Miami's probably going to long-term have to look to get Tyler Huntley acclimated into the offense from a long-term perspective later in the season and get him going.
I think they should sign Ryan Tannehill.
I don't think that's necessarily a bad idea,
or Zach Wilson.
Part of the problem with Ryan Tannehill might be, it's hard to go back from where you started. They already turned the leaf years ago with Ryan Tannehill, and it'd be tough for a team to bring him back later in his career. But I will take the Seahawks in this one.
All right. Next game is the Lions at the Cardinals. Open at -3.5 in favor of the Lions. It's at -3. So Lions are 1-1 on the season after a tough loss to the Bucs last week. They had 7 trips to the red zone last week, only scored 1 touchdown. Goff had 55 passing attempts. Do you know how many targets your boy, the Sun God, had in that game?
How many?
Take a guess.
2.
No, 18.
Wow.
18 targets. I've never seen 18 targets in a game before. So, the Lions are a run-first defense or offense. And why? Why are they having Goff throw the ball 55 times? So I'm assuming, and I hope that they're going to get back to their run game. I think you can run on the Cardinals. Their defense is not great. Kyler Murray has looked good. So it could be a high-scoring affair. But I think the Lions got to get a win here.
Yeah, I love the Lions in general. I'm really high on them for, getting back into the playoffs and trying to make some damage. We'll see how they play towards the end of the season. But I think there's a bad spot on the schedule again. Coming off that tough game last week where it looked like they were probably going to win the game and then they lost. So I would like the Cardinals. I think Kyler Murray seems to be getting more comfortable with the John and Ganathan head coach offense. Obviously, he's a D coordinator for the Eagles coming in, but I think Kyler Murray is somebody that you have to, I think Kyler Murray is somebody that you have to look at that could be. I don't necessarily want to jump up and say he's an MVP. Yeah, no, I don't want to say he's an MVP.
Still a tissue.
But he starts getting more confident and he's getting along with the coach and they're not playing games about, whether he's studying the playbook and he buys in. Watch out for the Cardinals this year. I really like them. I think this is a good spot for the Cardinals at home against the Lions. Lions traveling. I don't look for them to win this game, but it's going to be a back and forth and tight game at the end. I like the Cardinals to pull it out.
Well, look, Dan Campbell's got to get the win because otherwise he's in real trouble because apparently his home address was leaked and he's got people showing up at his house and
What?
shit. He's got his house on the market.
Are you serious?
They're going to run him out of Detroit if he doesn't win this one. All right, next game is...
You would think the guy's a hero.
Well, their fans are fickle, man. You lose one game.
It is Detroit.
All right.
You're a little crazy up there.
Ravens at Cowboys opened at -1 in favor of the Cowboys. It's now at Ravens -1.5. So the 0-2 Ravens traveling to Dallas, who obviously got blown out last week by the Saints. See, that's where I wrote down search rate Raiders. Ravens have offensive line issues. I've said it before. I'm saying it again. It's not going to be a good thing when they're going up against Micah Parsons. I also heard on the radio that the Ravens are rotating their offensive linemen such that they're bringing one guy on the field when it's a run play and another guy on the field when they're passing the ball. Now, in poker, they call that a tell, and that's not good. There's also a lot of criticism with Harbaugh with his go for it on 4th down, and he loves to throw bad challenge flags. So I think the Cowboys get back on track, and they win this one. And the Ravens go to 0-3. And I don't know if Harbaugh's on the hot seat, but he's been a coach there for a long time.
Very long.
So maybe it is time for someone else to come in there.
I don't know. They're trying to run this this offense with the dynamic run game, adding, Derrick Henry. I'm not ready to give up on the Ravens yet. If I had to pick on this side, I would take the Ravens, but I'm going to leave this one alone. It's too tough. The Cowboys are coming off the embarrassing loss. They're still at home. It'd be tough for the Cowboys to lose 2 in a row at home. But the Ravens, if they lose, they're going 0-3. So you pretty much have 2 desperate teams here playing against each other week 3. I would take the Ravens. Officially, I'm going to lay off.
All right. Next game is the 49ers at the Rams. This is a division game. And if you've ever watched the podcast before, you've heard me say this, but this is a division that's very predictable in general. But Kyle Shanahan owns Sean McVay. So a lot of injuries in this game. The Rams obviously are without Puka, no Cooper Kupp. They have offensive line issues. 49ers obviously without CMC. Debo is out for this game. And Kittle, apparently, what Kyle Shanahan said was that he was having tightness in his hamstring as a result of practice the other day. And now he's doubtful for the game. So they're going to be missing some players too, but at least they'll be on equal footing. And I don't care. I'm still taking the Niners. Obviously, lost last week in Minnesota, so they need to get back on track as well. So
it's interesting that Kittle's doubtful.
Yeah, I know. Tightness in his hamstring.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Suck it up, Kittle.
Yeah, exactly. It's a tough one because, like you said, this is typically a 49ers matchup. They match up well against the Rams, and they have a really good record against them.
I mean, obviously, I would like it a lot better if Kittle was out there since they already are without Debo. But
Yeah, I mean, keep in mind they had a tough loss against Minnesota last week. You still have no CMC for the 49ers. But I'm going to stay on the side of history. I think Shanahan does have the Rams number. I'll take the 49ers on the road.
All right. We agree on that one. All right. Next game is Chiefs at the Falcons. Chiefs open at -4.5. They're at -3. I don't really have much on this. The Chiefs did lose Isaiah Pacheco and signed Kareem Hunt. And I'm
He's
not
in
really
the practice squad though.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to play, but I don't really know what else they have in the backfield there because Clyde Edwards-Helaire was having like issues or something. So I don't know what they have there.
It's Carson Steele. They also have Sam J. Piernine, who was the Bengals. And I think he was at the Broncos.
P. Ryan. I love it. All right. This is going to be Kirk Cousins prime time times 2.
Can never pronounce his name.
Huh?
Can never pronounce his name.
That was not even close.
Samaje.
Yes. So I don't know. I mean, the Chiefs just always seem to win. Like, honestly, the Bengals should have won that game the other night. And what's very frustrating is when I had the Chiefs, and it's like, if the Chiefs aren't going to cover, then they can at least fucking lose a game because I hate the Chiefs, but they still won. So they'll win. I don't know if they'll cover, but you probably take them up to 3, but I won't do it.
Yeah, Chiefs -3 against the Falcons on the road. Chiefs, not necessarily the greatest team on the road, but Falcons getting that fluky win last week. I think they bounce back to earth, and I'll take the Chiefs.
Maybe it gives them confidence.
Yeah, we're both taking the Chiefs there.
Yeah.
Begrudgingly, it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, I would feel better with like a money line bet, honestly.
Falcons weren't that impressive last week.
No, not until that final drive.
No, that was pretty much the fault of the Eagles just sitting back and letting Kirk Cousins, cook.
All right. So now that was the Sunday night game. We have 2 Monday night games for whatever reason.
Why are we doing that week 3?
Week 3. I don't know. Talk to the NFL about it.
Week 1, but
I don't make the schedule.
I suppose maybe because you opened up the week 1 with a Brazil game.
Yes, but that doesn't explain why they didn't do it in week 2.
Yeah.
So, all right. First one is Jags at Bills. Opened at -6 in favor of the Bills. It's at -4.5. So I think the Bills are clearly the better team here. Jags are 0-2. They need to win. Peterson might be on the hot seat a little bit. There was a press conference after, I guess, the last game where Trevor Lawrence was like, we got to play better, blah, 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 blah. Coaches got to coach better. Like, I don't know. Like, I probably wouldn't have said that. And I don't know if that was like a sign of anything, but it just seemed like an odd thing to say. They are going to be without Evan Ingram. Christian Kirk is technically their number 1 wide receiver. He's had like 2 targets over the course of 2 games. So I don't know what's going on there.
What is going on there?
But interestingly enough, these teams have played twice in recent years. In 2021, Jacksonville won a 9-6 game. And then they played last year in London, and Jacksonville won that game 25-20. This is a Monday night game. So I got to take the Jags, like, as much as I hate to do it.
It's funny you say that because I thought for sure you were going Buffalo, but I'm going to go the Jags as well. They really played well against Buffalo last year, and they won the game when they played them. I think that they match up well against Buffalo. Again, you reference Christian Kirk, but I think the more focus is on this offense with Gabe Davis coming in for Buffalo and the Brian Thomas Jr. rookie.
Gabe Davis revenge game.
Exactly. Gabe Davis revenge game. So I'd look for, Jaguars to try to get him involved in the passing game early and often. I love Brian Thomas Jr. Coming out of college. He looks really good in that offense. And as he gets more comfortable with Trevor Lawrence, Christian Kirk will probably still be the third option, even though he's listed as the number 1. So I'm going to go with you. I'm surprised you're going with Jacksonville. I like Jacksonville too. That pretty much locks Jacksonville up as a win.
Let's hope so. And I did forget to mention the Texans.
-4.5.
The Texans Viking game is a Stephon Diggs revenge game. I always love a good revenge narrative.
Not Buffalo, but Minnesota.
Oh, trust me, he's the type that still holds a grudge.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, and then the final game. So you don't necessarily have to watch this one because you have another one. Maybe that's why they did it. Commanders at Bengals. It is -7.5 in favor of the Bengals. Obviously, Bengals didn't play very good week 1. They played good last week. They always do seem to play good against the Chiefs. They should have won that game. It sounds like they are going to get T. Higgins back. Jamar Chase really hasn't done much to date, but I mean, eventually he's got to, if he wants a contract, he's got to catch a couple balls.
But T. Higgins coming back really should help him out.
Yes.
But he's limited at practice on Friday, so I don't know that it's guaranteed that he's coming back.
Well, it sounded like it. This is the Monday night game. I would imagine that the money is going to be on the Bengals. I don't know how there being 2 Monday night games affects the fact that the Monday night games always seem to go the opposite way of what you're expecting. So I don't have a strong take on this game, but I would probably take the points, which is getting worse, and go with the Commanders, but that's not...
A lot of back. Oh, there you go. Good job. No, I would also take the Bengals here. I don't like the Commanders.
No, I said I would take the points.
Oh, you're taking the points. I'm taking the Bengals. You want to bet on this one?
No, I'm not betting on the Commanders.
All right, I like the Bengals, especially if we get T. Higgins back. But I like the 1-2 mix that they have. I like the 1-2 mix that they have at running back, right? With Zach Moss and then Chase Brown coming in. Chase Brown looks a little faster off the bench. So he's looking good as a switch up later in the games. I look for this as the Bengals a get right game and get back on track to one of the premier teams that we think the Bengals are in the league. I'm going to take the Bengals minus the 7.5.
7.5. All right. So that will do it for us for week 3. If you're watching, remember to like, subscribe, and look at Steve with the exit music.
I know, but I didn't have the right speaker on.
All right. Well, that'll do it for us. Any final comments? Peace out.